Build that relationship. Go to God every day. When my father passed away, I was editing the book. I was like getting ready to publish it, and I was editing the book. And I remember I was broken again, upset, and I was sitting on my sofa and I was crying, and I looked out the window, and it was like the day after Dad died. I looked out the window and two cardinals landed on my back porch. And I looked at them and I just felt God in my heart say, they're here with you. You haven't lost your parents, because you feel like you're an orphan all of a sudden. And those cardinals, that cardinal family is still in my backyard. Mm-hmm. They're there. And it's my daily reminder every day when I see those cardinals. Thank you, God, for sticking with me. Thank you, God, for not leaving me. Thank you, God, for walking with me every single day.
Welcome, everybody, for this episode of Just Talking About Jesus. I am so delighted to have Wendy Wall here with us today. Welcome, Wendy.
Thank you for having me. I'm so happy to be here.
Wendy grew up surrounded by a tribe of wise, godly women who taught her to look for God in every moment. So much so that on the first date with Sydney, Wendy realized that he was the man that she would marry. Aw, that's sweet. In 2012, Wendy's family moved to Angola, Africa, and Trinidad and Tobago, where God taught her how to depend on him for everything. Wendy returned to the U.S. and promptly forgot all her lessons. So to regain her footing, Wendy launched a Bible study at her son's school, where the class grew from a few people to a multitude of studies. She began organizing and leading retreats designed to help people realize the beauty found in a relationship with God. And what a great way for us to start. So, whoa, yeah, Africa and all over. Tell us, give us a little testimony, but anyway, where do you were surrounded by godly people, what's kind of, you just always like knew God was there, or what's your story?
From when I was a little bitty girl, my grandmother was my dad's mom. My other grandmother was too. My mom's mom was too. But we were, she was so godly. My grandmother was so godly, and she would lay hands on me and she would bless me, and she would kneel down and pray with me. And I remember when I was little, this is kind of a funny story, but this will give you an example. We were on our way to church one morning, and we were always late. We were on our way to church one morning, and we were in the car, and this is in New Orleans, and the streets in New Orleans are really bad. They've always been bad, still are. And we're driving to church, and my grandmother, there was a light and it turned red. And I was sitting in the back seat, and I looked up and I saw that light turn red, and my grandmother she gunned it. And we all flew back in the seat, and I flipped up and I hit this, because you didn't use seatbelts.
We didn't have seatbelts.
She's like, it's all in the name of the Lord. And we kept going. Okay. And so, yes, I grew up with very godly women, and they were a wonderful tribe. And so my husband at the time, he worked for BP when our son was, I guess, 9 years old, 8 or 9. And I came in from dropping Davis off at school, and my dad was sitting there, and he said, and my husband is a deep water completions engineer. That's kind of important to the story. And so I come in, and he was getting ready to go offshore. He was going to complete 3 different wells in a row. And so I come in, and my dad's like, there's a rig on fire in the Gulf, and it's a BP rig. And I was like, no, it's nuh-uh. I said, Sid would have called me. Cocky. Nuh-uh. And he's like, look. And so he had it on the TV, and I just looked at it and I went, oh my gosh. So I called my husband immediately and I was like, what's going on? He said, I can't talk right now. Yes, it, it's bad. And I said, okay. So I hung up the phone with him and I just started praying. And I called one of my friends. We just started praying and we just kind of watched everything unfold on TV like everybody else did. And he would come home late at night and it was bad. And his boss pulled him aside, I guess about 2 or 3 months later, as we walked through the Deepwater Horizon experience. It was bad. Um, and pulled him aside. He said, the Gulf is shut down, but we don't want to lose you. We're going to transfer you overseas. These are your options. You can go to Alaska, you can go to Azerbaijan, you can go to, or you can go to Angola. And so we talked about it, and I said, and I called my friends whose husbands who had worked at different places and stuff like that, and they were like, "Don't go to Azerbaijan." I was like, "Okay." And then I'm thinking to myself, I'm not a cold girl. And so I went back and we talked about it. And so we said, okay, we'll go to Angola. So we went on our recce trip, is what it's called. It's a reconnaissance trip. You go out and you go look and see. We get over there, and they had just come out of a 50-year civil war. And we got there, and there at the end of the runway are these planes with bullet holes, and they're all wrecked at the end of the runway. And we were driving around, and I'm thinking, oh no. We visited my son's school, and they had the guards sitting there with the AK-47s at the entrance. And I'm thinking, I don't know about this. I don't think this is a good idea. I don't know if we should do this. And I heard in my spirit, you're coming to Africa. I'm like, really?
He's like,
I'm
sometimes he just tells us things like you're going, do you even know? Do you even really
like,
know?
I'm looking at these guards with AK-47s in front of what would be my son's school, and I'm like, you sure? Am I hearing you right? And he's like, you're going to Africa. And I was like, okay. And so for the next year, it was so funny. My husband would come home, and it was challenge after challenge after challenge. Oh, I don't have the right resume. We're going to Africa. And he'd come in the next day. He's like, okay, my resume got approved, but I don't have a second degree that they're looking for. I'm making that part up. We're going to Africa. The next day, that's approved. Oh, well, my visa's not being approved. We're going to Africa. I mean, this is going on for a year. And I'm like, we're going. Well, to the point where we are getting on the plane. They have just left with our worldly possessions to put them in storage. And Sid's like, I don't know if we're going. I'm like, we're going to Africa, husband. And we were
Because
going to
God
get on
didn't
the
tell your
plane.
husband the same thing.
I guess not. Now, that's a great question. I'm going to have to ask him that. That's a fantastic question. So,
Because if he had felt assured of that, he'd just been going, oh, another bump in the road. Let's keep going.
exactly, exactly. And it was so funny because like we're going, I just kept saying over and over again, we're going to Africa. God told me we're going to Africa. We're going to Africa. I mean, we loaded up the truck. And it was so funny. We're going to get on the airplane, and Sid left his wallet at the when we were going through TSA. And we get up there, and he doesn't have his passport or anything. And he's like, we're not going to Africa. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so we heard, Sid Wall, please come back to the TSA. We have your passport and your license. And I just fell out laughing. I mean, I just started rolling. I was like, we're going to Africa. So he runs back and he gets his stuff, and we ran onto the plane. And I was just thinking, we're going. So we got on the plane. I sat down and I'm like, look, God, it's like I'm going to make a deal with him, right? I look at him and I'm like, God, you have us on this plane. And we really struggled with this decision because of our son, because he was so young.
Mhm.
And we're like, are we about to mess this kid up? Is really what we were thinking. And so I said, you know what, God, I have 2 hands and 2 feet. They are yours. You want us to do this, obviously. We're going to do it. You have sent us sign after sign. We're going. I have 2 hands and 2 feet. I have 3 years in this country. use me as you see fit. This is what I'm here for. And so we landed. And within the next month, I was president of the American Women's Association of Angola. Fell into that. It was an accident. And
Uh-huh.
and at that point, and it was designed to be a soft place to land for American women because the culture difference was so great. I mean, they spoke Portuguese. It was very difficult to find food. I mean, there was just it was such a culture difference. And I remember thinking and the poverty was so bad where we lived, and I just remember sitting there on my couch crying for these people, and I'm like, God, there's so many. And he said, Wendy, I'm going to give you who I want you to help. I'm going to put your path in front of you. And that's where I want you to focus. And I was like, okay, okay, I can do that. I can do that. And so our organization was meant to be social, but I was like, you know what, y'all, we have so much to offer. We had to bring everything in buckets, like the little camp buckets that you pack your kid up for camp, and you have the little bucket, and all right, everything that we had, we brought over in buckets because there was no Target, there's no Walmart or anything like that. So I said, we should be helping somebody. So we found this little orphanage. It was the Arnaldo Jensen orphanage. It was a boys' orphanage, which really spoke to me because I had a son that age. And so our little Boy Scout troop would go over and they would play soccer with the boys. We painted the buildings and everything like that. But I went over there one day and it was raining, and it never rains where we were. And the drainage off the street came into the orphanage. And so these kids are wading through knee-deep water off the streets. It was disgusting. They had no drainage. They had to have their water brought in, and they would reuse the same bucket of water all week to wash the dishes. But they were so proud of themselves that they were washing their dishes every day. And I mean, so I was like, we've got to help these kids. We've got to help these kids. So it was funny because we decided we were going to help. And so the next thing I know, I get a phone call from a friend of mine. She said, "Hey, Wendy, the mattresses on the rigs have to be changed out every 3 years. We have an entire um, we have an entire rig's worth of mattresses coming in. Do you think the orphanage would like them?" Well, yes, I would. Next thing you know, these kids are all getting their own mattresses. Then my good friend from Chevron calls me. Hey, Wendy, we for some reason there was a screw up, and we have double the number of mosquito nets that we need for Chevron for all of our people. Do you think the boys would want these? Do I? And I mean, it was just one thing after another. And
Wow.
so we worked on this project for 3 years, and then finally it was time for me to fly out. And I was sitting there and I'm making the numbers up. I was sitting there with the board, and we were short. I want to say we were short a little over $3,000 to get the water hooked up and the sewage hooked up. We had found an engineer. A friend of mine had found an engineer. She was working on the project, but we were short the funds. And I'm sitting there and I had the little Kwanzaa, the money in my hand, and I'm looking at it and I was like, guys, we're short. What are we going to do? And I'm getting ready to pack up and leave. I said, I can't leave until this is finished. And as I'm saying that, and as we're having the conversation, my friend Joanne calls me. She was president of the British Women's Association. She's like, Wendy, we have some funds left over this year. And I said, do you really? And she said, yeah, I do. And she said, we just thought that these would be good for the boys' orphanage. And I said, really? And she said, yeah, we have $1,360. And I'm like, and it was the exact to the penny amount of money that we needed to complete that project.
You know,
I
it
still
just
get chills every time I think about it.
it
I
just
just
amazes you how this happened to us before, just randomly, but how you have this need. It's like God's got, I got you, don't worry about it, I got you, and then he just plucks somebody randomly
Yes.
from somewhere, and it's kind of like he's here and he goes over here and goes over there, just to put you two together and just say, hey, this is where it's going to happen, this like.
I mean, I couldn't believe it. And all the women are sitting there because we were sitting here having the conversation. And I just burst into tears, and they're like, "What are you crying for?" And I was like, "Because
They're
A, I was
happy
stressed out
tears.
because I was trying to leave, and B, I'm like, he provided." And they're all like, "Okay, Wendy."
And of course, our friend Brenda would call those memorial stone moments.
Yes, yes, and it is. It was a definite. It was a memorial stone moment, and so I left, moved to Trinidad, and at the time, my mother had cancer. And so during that time, and it was funny because we weren't supposed to go to Trinidad. We were originally supposed to go to Indonesia, and God closed that door and moved us to Trinidad. And I couldn't understand why he did that. And we got to Trinidad, and Mom got sick, and so I started flying back and forth every 3 weeks from Trinidad to the Cleveland Clinic where my mom was. And so I was just like, that's why we didn't go. I was like, thank you, God, that I am able to be here to support my family and to, be with my dad and my brother. And so that was a prayer answered.
Yeah.
And so then
And
mom
even a prayer that you
passed.
didn't even know you needed it,
Exactly. Yeah.
again.
I would not have I would have been panicked if I was over in Indonesia and my mother was in the hospital and because Davis was still in school. So what would we have done?
Right.
And so I was able to be there with her, and then she passed. And then after that, we moved home. And I remember, and my grandmother had passed, my aunt had passed, my great aunt had passed, my dog had even died in Trinidad. My sweet baby dog
Hmm.
had passed away. And so I'm sitting there, we just moved home, and American life, because we had lived in these areas where you were doing good to get a Duncan Hines cake mix. Me, that was a big deal. Lactose-free milk was the only fresh milk that you could get at Trinidad, and we drank it. I mean, it was perfect for us. And so I get home and Sid and I could not even walk into the grocery store without just overload. We'd grab bread, we'd grab milk. I mean, even the egg section was too much for us. And
Yeah.
because we were doing good to get eggs, and we'd turn around, we'd walk out and just leave the grocery store. And so I was just the culture shock of coming back to the America and the excess that we have
Yeah.
was too much for us, all of us. And I just sat there on the sofa, and I was having my good pity party. I was all up in it and just boo-hooing. And all my friends were like, just give it to God. Just give it to God, Wendy. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. And I would try and take it back. And every day I'd try and take it back. So I'm having my meltdown as we do every once in a while. And I was just boo-hooing, and I was just like, God, this isn't fair. And I said, everybody keeps telling me to give it to you, and I'm trying, but it's not working. What's wrong? And he said, well, Wendy, you could if it's a habit. And I'm like, that's kind of rude. What do you mean if it's a habit? God. And he said, no, 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 you're misunderstanding me. And God is so sweet to me. He has so much patience with me.
Uh-huh.
I really put him through it.
He's seen worse, I'm sure.
I don't know. So he's like, no, Wendy, what I want is I want your relationship with me to be so close that instinctively you turn to me first. Whatever it is, I want you to instinctively turn to me first. And I was like, oh, okay, okay. So I started researching habits. And what I did was I decided and I learned that it takes 66 days to create a lasting habit. And so I decided that for 66 days, I was going to every day commit to giving whatever it was on my freak out list. I was going to give it to God. And it started an adventure that I am still walking through today. And it has taught me the things, it has taught me how God took that loss of losing my mother and has turned it into a blessing that I could have never imagined. And and throughout my life, he has taken these different events in my life and where I'm just on the floor, just so upset and hurting, and God, he really does truly make beauty from ashes.
Mhm.
And so it led me on this 66-day journey, which turned into 70 days, which turned into a book. And the whole point of it is to give people the ability to create that same relationship.
Mhm.
Not the relationship I have, but their
Right,
relationship with
right,
God.
right, right. Yeah.
So,
And so I would uh, tell us more like what are some of the steps that you actually take people through?
what I do is I help people create their own toolkit
Okay.
because different types of prayer resonate with different people. And different types of God speaks to each one of us differently because we're all different. Like I have a really good friend of mine, Sophia, and she'll pray and she's like, God will come to me and he'll be like, oh, I love you so much. And I went to God one day and I was like, you don't do that with me. I was like, you're not, Wendy, I love you so much. He said, Wendy, if I acted that way with you, you would be like, because that's not authentic for you.
Yeah,
That's authentic, and it is. That is authentic for her. She is a beautiful woman, and that is her love language, and
yeah.
that is how she expresses it. And I was like, okay, you've got a really good point. You've got a really good point. So what I did was I went and I looked at different types of prayer, everything from just the basic Lord's Prayer to how to memorize verses to looking at the gifts of the Spirit and the fruit of the Spirit. We examine things like Ignatian prayer. We look at all these different things, and what it does is it gives you the ability to go in and say, oh, here's an example. I did the visual Bible journaling thing. Yeah, I did that. That didn't work for me, but it may work for somebody else, and so I kept it. And so what I did was, I tried to think of these different, and God would give me, I'd go somewhere and they would like, we're going to talk about prayers of forgiveness today. I'm like, oh, that's good. I'm taking notes. And so that's really how I didn't write the book, God did. And so I'd take that down and I would try it and see how it worked for me. And so what it is designed to do is give people the ability to build this toolkit of what works for them. So it may be, visual Bible journaling may work for you. Me, I just kind of looked at it and went, oh my, nobody's ever going to see this. But then there are other things like, memory verses and learning the Hebrew meaning of the verse and how, the translations are not always quite what that word means. And so that for me is just wow. I love being able to go back and do things like that. And so towards the end of the book, it's designed so that when you get to the end of the book, you will be able to maybe throw out a fleece, you may, whatever it may be for you, so that you know you're hearing God, so that you know that you're the sheep, you're hearing his voice. It's not some counterfeit voice, it's God's voice, and that you can follow that voice in your everyday life and you can go out and you can walk with God. And so it's not so much that you're dumping your problems on him, it's that you are walking with him and you are trusting in him.
Mhm.
And you are saying, you know what, God, I have this pretty big problem today. What am I going to do about this? And sitting back and saying, you know what? I am going to operate from a place of peace today. And I am just going to let you go before me. You're going to send your angels before me, and you are going to work this out for your good.
Mhm.
And it's developing that trust and that faith and bringing in that hope and that peace and that just underlying joy
Hmm.
so that you may be in the middle of a tempest and you're still grounded. It's that Psalm 91. You're still grounded in, and death may come by me, the pestilence, the plague, the whole 9 yards, but it's not going to touch you because you've got that relationship with God.
Yeah.
And so that's what the book is about, is helping others on their own journey to build that type of relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Mhm.
when God's telling you way back, I want you to be in that place, and you're going, yeah, okay, but it's not like now you can look at it and you know that you know what he's
Mhm.
talking about, right?
Mhm.
You know.
Well, what's funny about it is, and my son thought this was hilarious, and God is funny with me. And because I was facing a bunch of challenges trying to get this book out onto the market and having my pity party. I'm sitting there and I was just praying about it. I was like, God, what is the deal? Oh my gosh, this has been a challenge for so long. And so I was like, you know what, Jesus, I'm crawling up into your lap. So I just crawled up into his lap and I was sitting there, I was praying. And I had my eyes closed and I was praying about it. And I was like, what do I do, God? What do I do? He's like, Wendy. I said, yes. He said, don't you find it ironic that you wrote a book about turning everything over to me and you can't seem to turn this book over to me? And I was like,
Oh.
oh, we had a twist. I was like, I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh, I am so sorry.
I know. Yeah, I know. There's sometimes I've had that too, where you just feel like, I know you told me to write this. Okay, so I wrote it. Now, is that all that's going to happen? Or is this where, what is, and that, that is just a normal author kind of thing, where God tells you to do something. Sometimes maybe just wanted just to do it for us. I don't know, who knows, but, but
Yeah.
I
He's
think
like,
we
so you're
just
going
have
to
to
release it
be
to me?
obedient and let it happen the way he wants it to happen.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So, yeah, but it was funny. He's like, are you going to release that to me? I
Hmm.
was like, oh, yeah, yeah, here. You, sorry about
Because
that.
whatever you do with it is going to be way better than what I can do with
Exactly.
it. Right?
Exactly. There's nothing that I'm going to be able to add to the equation.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, here you go. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Where is a point where you feel like God took a worst moment that you've had and turned it into something beautiful?
he's done so many. I think when the BP Horizon thing happened,
Mm.
that was bad.
I
I
can't even
mean,
imagine.
it was bad. Like my husband lost friends,
Yeah.
and it was, and it was, it's like seeing, I mean, they're not personally naming us. We weren't personally involved in it. It was but they ended up using the rig that my husband was getting ready to use to complete these 3 wells. They used his rig to fix the situation. They took his rig away from him and then used this one. And and so walking through that was a situation of, I don't understand, God. I don't understand what you're doing. This is awful. This is, and and so, and I don't want to minimize in any way, shape, or form any of the loss or any of the how bad it was.
Hmm.
But through a long process, God did take those ashes that we were handed and he made beauty out of them. I mean, we would have never gone to Africa.
Hmm.
And it's funny, my son even comes to me now. He's like, I really miss Africa. And my husband and I both do too.
Hmm.
It was, for the hardship that there was there, it was still a beautiful, beautiful period of our lives. And we're very grateful for it. And then Trinidad, the things that we experienced there, again, the people that we met and the experiences that we had, they can't be replicated. It's
Right.
like lightning in a bottle. And so I think that's one big illustration. And then again, when I lost mom, um, if I hadn't lost mom when I did, I don't think that I would have been broken enough to go through the process that I did to write that book. Does that make sense?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like
Yeah, it does.
it, you know, the shock, the culture shock is one thing, but then you combine the culture shock with getting your child into a new school, combined with trying to get your house together,
Hmm.
combined with, it was the perfect storm of falling apart
Yeah.
and then losing. Yeah, he needed to break me,
Hmm.
and that he did. Oh, that he did. But he broke me down to a point where I could barely, I was sitting on the sofa crying, going, here,
Yeah.
fix this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And I think that is, and he'll take us clear down to that absolute bottom, and how many people in the Bible did he do that with? We're not new. This is nothing new. That's
mhm.
just something that he needs to do for us in his loving kindness because he
And is it,
knows how to get us where he wants us to be.
and you see it on the other side, but when you're in it, you're
Not
like,
easy.
yeah, I mean, you're looking around going, wait a minute.
Mm.
I mean, he even took all of our possessions. I mean, everything. He took because everything was in storage. All of our stuff, all of our worldly goods, everything was in storage and it got flooded. It was unbelievable. And I just remember sitting there thinking, what could be next? And then you're thinking to yourself, no, nothing. Don't even put that out there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't even. And I'm like, just keep my family healthy. Just keep my family healthy.
Yeah.
And that was like the gut prayer. Have you ever done that where you're just in that?
So you can have all of this, but
Yeah, you've taken everything else away. Just keep my son and my husband healthy. Just
yeah.
give me that. I can't, that I don't think I could come back from, kind of thing.
Yeah. But you
So,
would, even if he
mhm,
did, you would,
mhm.
because
Yeah,
he'd take you through it and it would
you
be,
would.
through the valley, but you'd get to the other side. You'd get through it.
Mhm. You do. You get
It
through it.
is. And it's just like, but yeah, your worst nightmare kind of, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, but
Mm-hmm.
the other side of it has been a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And I just look around and I'm just so blessed every day. And my husband and I, every day, we're like, we're so blessed. We are so blessed. And we tell our son, we're so blessed. And my son's like, we are, we are blessed.
Because you're the mama in his life, the godly mama in his life. Passing that down. Wendy, what would you like to leave our audience with?
Develop that relationship. Go to God every day. When my father passed away, um, I was editing the book. I was like getting ready to publish it and I was editing the book. And I remember I was broken again, upset. And I was sitting on my sofa and I was crying. And I looked out the window and it was like the day after Dad died. I looked out the window and two cardinals landed on my back porch. And I looked at them and I just felt God in my heart say, they're here with you. You haven't lost your parents because you feel like you're an orphan all of a sudden. And those cardinals, that cardinal family is still in my backyard.
Mm-hmm.
They're there. And it's my daily reminder every day when I see those cardinals. Thank you, God, for sticking with me. Thank you, God, for not leaving me. Thank you, God, for walking with me every single day. And thank you, God, for developing, not giving up on me and developing that relationship with me. And so I'd like to leave everybody with that. Look for God in the little things. look for God to speak to you because he's there, he's talking. And look for him in the good and in the bad because it's such a blessing. He is such a blessing. Even when you're mired down in loss and pain and everything else, he is right there with you. And so, I mean, if if you want to buy the book, that's great. I hope that helps you through it. But whatever you do, don't forget that God is in there with you
That's
in the
great.
middle of it.
That's great. And tell us where people could find you and where they can find your book. And
Oh, the name of the book is The Holy Habit. Get it? Get it? The Holy Habit. And you can find it on Amazon. You can find it on Barnes and Noble. You can find it on Walmart. You can find it everywhere.
Mhm.
And then if you want to find me on Instagram, I'm theholyhabit.com or Holy Habit at Holy Habit, The Holy Habit.
Yeah.
And then on Facebook, it's by my name. It's Wendy Durr, which is my maiden name, Dur Wall.
Okay.
And then my website is theholyhabit.com.
There we go. There we go.
So
Wendy, it's been such a pleasure to have you with
thank you
us.
so much.
So nice to have you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
And if you're watching this, be sure to subscribe and you'll be able to see all these episodes when they come each week. So, all right. Thank you again.
Thank you.